Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Thessaly macedonia-thrace. Thank you, Maria, for the invitation to present in this conference. For me, it is a pity that I'm not there with you today. I live in Larissa, a city that was hit by the recent floods. Personally, I was lucky. I didn't have my house flooded, but I've got friends and colleagues who lost everything, and they are now try to recover. Of course, I didn't want to risk not being able to travel to Thessaloniki in case the highway was still closed. So we finally agreed to present online, and I do appreciate that. In an era characterized by fast generating information, too much to access, let alone process and digest, and little time to spare on reading, youth do not usually demonstrate any keenness on reading long texts, articles, or literature in their mother tongue, let alone in a foreign language like English. They prefer to have a look at titles, or read just short texts or comments written by people who have read longer articles. So it is now more than necessary that teachers should guide them in developing into strategic readers, or in other words, into effective and self-regulated readers. My presentation will illustrate the notion of reading strategies, the need behind teaching them, how they can be applied in EFL classroom, and the results this teaching can have. Language learning strategies in the field of language teaching are related to successful language learning, effective communication, and autonomous learning. The development of strategic competence is combined with student-centered and diversified teaching approaches, methods, and tools, and helps meet students' different needs. Thus, many researchers have tried to investigate how students process new information and to record what strategies they use to understand, learn, or remember information in language learning. Defining the reading skill, we can say that reading is a complicated cognitive process. It requires the decoding, understanding, and interpretation of a text. It activates various mental and language processes. Reading is seen as a problem-solving activity in which the reader adopts and applies a number of strategies, such as finding the main idea or reading again and again to solve any ambiguities. Reading is also influenced by the learner's knowledge, experiences, and cultural values, which render the reading into interactive process. Reading is processed at three levels. Superficial reading refers to the information the text gives based on linguistic elements such as vocabulary and structure. Interpretive reading is deeper, refers to what the text means, what messages, ideas, and attitudes it promotes or it includes, and entails the activation of the reader's pre-existing knowledge and experience. At the third level, we've got critical reading, which is more creative and refers to the reader's interpretation of the text and reaction to the text. As for reading strategies are those cognitive and behavioristic actions, steps, problem-solving skills, or techniques that help learners understand a text and improve their reading skill. Their use depends on variables such as gender, age, language level, previous knowledge, motives, attitudes, learning style, personality, even cultural environment. Reading strategies, therefore, are defined as generally deliberate, planful activities undertaken by active learners, many times to remedy perceived cognitive failure and facilitate reading comprehension. And finally, they may be teachable. There are several taxonomies of reading strategy. One taxonomy is that of two categories of strategies. The first one includes cognitive strategies, which concern the direct interaction with the written text. Some cognitive strategies are underlining, using a dictionary, guessing from the title, guessing from the context, using images, avoiding difficult parts, revising, summary writing, writing new or difficult words, etc. And the second category concern metacognitive strategies, which refer to the awareness of strategies and their effective use while reading and include higher order processes such as planning, monitoring, evaluating strategies. Another taxonomy of reading strategies is the one that separates strategies into top-down strategies and bottom-up strategies. In the first category, we've got strategies such as activating pre-existing knowledge, identifying the main idea and the organization of the text, predicting the story, making inferences, being aware of the aim for reading. And in the bottom-up strategies, we have strategies like finding the keywords, examining the structure of the text, paraphrasing, rereading some parts, and any strategies that focus on the micro level. Ness proposes strategies like monitoring reading, collaborative learning strategies, using mind maps, graphic organizers, identifying the structure of the text, summarizing, using the main ideas. While on the other hand, Mokhtari and Sherry propose global reading strategies, which include top-down strategies, text-based strategies, etc., support reading strategies like using dictionaries, note-taking, underlining, highlighting, and problem-solving strategies like guessing the meaning of unknown words, decoding the text, creating mental images. Another taxonomy is that of evidence-based strategies and support reading strategies in instruction proposed by Grape and Stoller. This taxonomy includes strategies like specifying a purpose for reading, planning what steps to take, predicting the text, previewing the content, checking predictions, posing questions, checking answers to posed questions. Well, strategies can be categorized into the three stages of the reading process. So in the pre-reading stage, we can apply strategies like considering visual illustrations, drawings, diagrams, or maps, activating pre-existing knowledge, providing students with the background knowledge needed to comprehend the upcoming text, predicting text content, making students aware of the purpose for reading, having a quick look at the text, discuss the author, the text type, the text genre, highlighting new vocabulary found in the text. In the while reading stage, well, we can use strategies like understanding the writer's purpose and intention, reading for specific pieces of information, making inferences, checking predictions, understanding the meaning of unknown words, paraphrasing, restating the main ideas, clarifying and comprehending the text content, recognizing the text structure and text organization, understanding the storyline or the sequence of ideas. And finally, In the post-reading stage, we can apply strategies like reviewing the text or interpreting the content, summarizing the text content, relate reading to the initial goal and expectations, transferring the reading content to other types of written or spoken word, reflecting on the use of the reading strategy or evaluating the use of the reading strategy, and extending the reading experience. There are different models of teaching and developing reading strategies, but several models convert to the following 5-stage framework. First, the teacher presents or models a new strategy. Then he or she explains its use. Students apply and experiment with the strategy, and then they use it autonomously in new activities or new contexts. And finally, teachers and students evaluate the use of this particular strategy. Well, a couple of years ago, in cooperation with 2 other colleagues, Dr Kollatou and Mrs Yeralexi, I conducted a research. This research concerning the reading strategy, the application of reading strategies. So our research was conducted in 3 senior high schools in Greece, in the first pilot school of Thessaloniki, the 3rd senior high school of Larissa, and the senior high school in Uvesavias. And well, the target group of our research was the 2nd graders. Well, in our research, we utilized the 3-stage reading process and the 5-stage framework of teaching reading strategies I just described. The aim was to help our learners cope with the long reading texts included in the course book and become strategic learners and autonomous readers. As far as the materials and methods we used, well, the material used was the English coursebook administered for the 2nd grade by the Ministry of Education, and specifically 4 units entitled Do We All Live in the Same World?, Renaissance Art and Artists, Learning to Fly, and Addictions. The teaching material of the book was enriched with pre- and post-reading material and activities. The tools used for the research was a pre-questionnaire based on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, B2 level descriptors, in the form of can-do statements, and a post-reading self-assessment questionnaire based on the 3 stages of reading, which was answered by the students at the end of each unit. Well, the pre-questionnaire included a list of 10 can-do statements, which were established with a view to collecting information about the student's current proficiency level in regard of the reading skill. The 5-point Likert scale was used to help students express an opinion on their reading skills, reflect on their reading competence, become more aware of their learning, and state what they think they can do in reading. It also helped us to set learning goals for our students concerning the reading skill by designing effective reading lessons with meaningful and purposeful relevant tasks that focused on the instruction and implementation of reading strategies. The can-do statements questionnaire was the one depicted in this slide. Well, we can have a look at these statements. So students had to check whether they could understand and state whether they could understand in detail lengthy complex texts, if they could read with a large degree of independence, adapting style and speed of reading to different texts and purposes, if they had a broad active reading vocabulary, experiencing some difficulty with low-frequency idioms, if they could understand any correspondence given the occasional use of a dictionary, if they could read correspondence relating to their field of interest, and readily grasp the essential meaning, if they could scan quickly through long and complex texts, locating relevant details, if they could quickly identify the content and relevance of new items, articles, and reports on a wide range of professional topics, deciding whether closer study is worthwhile, if they could understand in detail a wide range of lengthy, complex texts likely to be encountered in social, professional, or academic life, identifying finer points of detail, including attitudes and implied as well as stated opinions, if they could obtain information, ideas, and opinions from highly specialized sources within their field, and if they could understand articles and reports concerned with contemporary problems in which the writers adopt particular stances or viewpoints. As far as the post self-assessment questionnaire is concerned, well, that included questions, well, which concerned pre-readings, the use of pre-reading strategies, while reading strategies, and post-reading strategies. And students were asked whether they used these strategies and to what extent the use of these strategies helped them as readers. Well, now I'm going to give you an idea of how we worked. Well, first we considered the results of the pre-questionnaire. We followed the 5-stage framework I described before. We used the course book texts and some activities in them, the ones that we found appropriate for our goal. We enriched the course book content with authentic reading material. We designed additional activities, particularly for the pre and post reading stage, in order to ensure that all reading strategies would be practiced. Before we started, we informed the students of what reading strategies are and of our intention to help them apply these strategies to develop their reading skills. The purpose for doing so was to raise their awareness of what they would do during the reading process and why they would do it. At the end of each lesson, we asked them whether they could identify which strategy we used in each activity, and in this way, we developed their metacognitive skills and had them involved in their development as readers. Well, I will show now some examples of activities we used in the pre, while, and post-reading stages. Well, here we've got some activities we use in the pre-reading stage of Unit 2. The topic was about refugee conditions of life and so on. So before coming to the text, we had students watching a video by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees on YouTube, and we had them answer questions like what they saw, who had created the video, what the message of the video was, and how they felt when they watched it. And then we had another activity, an additional activity. We showed them pictures by Malala and some short texts. And of course, relevant questions like what the aim of this short text is, what message it conveys, who the addressees can be, etc. So in this case, as you can also understand, well, we applied the strategy of activating students' background knowledge so they could connect this knowledge with the text. Well, in the pre-reading stage, we added some more activities. For example, one activity was to make sure that they have a clear idea. There are no nuances. They are clear about the meaning, the difference between a refugee and a migrant or immigrant and asylum seeker. And then we worked on the vocabulary they would meet in the texts later on. So in that case, we provided students with background knowledge needed to comprehend the upcoming text. And then, again, before reading the two texts, we asked them to have a look at these two photos, the titles and the subtitles, and answer the questions like what the genre of each text was, where they could find each text, who the writer was, who might be the reader, and if they could guess the content of each article from the title and the photos. So in this case, we applied the strategy of having students considering visual illustrations and predicting the text content. And then we moved on to the while reading stage. So we had students reading the two texts again and in groups complete the tables. So in this case, we had them read for specific pieces of information, clarifying and comprehending text content, understand the storyline and the sequence of ideas, and then restating main ideas. In the post-reading stage, we gave students the link to Malala Fund to read, some texts, and of course there were some hyperlinks, so they would choose. They would design the reading, to collect as much information as they needed, applying previous strategies in order to do the task and answer the questions projected here. So in this case, the strategy was to extend the reading experience. So in the third unit, some more ideas of activities we used. That unit was about art and artists. So we showed students a video, the video Renaissance Overview Goodbye Art Academy on YouTube to help them get an idea of the Renaissance art and discuss about it in class. And then, we asked them to fill out crosswords about, again, the same topic. So in that case, we provided students with the background knowledge needed to comprehend the upcoming text. Well, again, as we had this time, we had 4 different texts for 4 different artists. We formed groups. We asked students to form groups and read the texts about Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Raphael, and Andrea del Verrocchio. Well, there was 5 artists. So each group read a different text while we applied the jigsaw technique. We asked the students to write the words they were not familiar with on a post-it note, discuss them in the group, and if they still didn't know what they meant, then we helped them with the meaning. So all these new words, were collected to form a word wall for students to have access and revise. So in this case, we applied the strategy of highlighting new vocabulary found in the texts. Then we come to the while reading stage. So we give students this table, a different table in each group, depending on which artist they studied. And this is the strategy reading for specific pieces of information. And then after reading, we ask them to summarize the text content as a strategy applied in the post-reading stage. Well, we believe that it is very important, for students to develop um, this strategy that is extending the reading experience. So, for that purpose, we gave them extra texts about these artists, and we had another activity. So, we asked them to read and um, match the paintings or we had on a Jamboard with the artists, um, well, depending, and of course, adding the extracts from the texts they had read that helped them with the matching between artists and paintings. Okay, so in Unit 4, which, well, yes, in Unit 4, first, in the pre-reading stage, we had we asked students to read the information about blackbirds and look at the video screenshots we that follow, and try to think about the connection between the two and say if they are compatible, and if so, in what way, and if not, to discuss their suggestions in class. So in this case, we applied the strategy of considering visual illustrations and drawings. And then sorry. Then we had them listen to the song Blackbird by the Beatles, and the purpose was to have them activate pre-existing knowledge and relate to the main text. So the while reading stage, we had them have a look at the paragraph that follows. So actually the text was extracts from the book Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And well, first we asked students to comment on the dedication right below the title and tell class what they think it talked about and what they thought Jonathan Livingston Seagull was practicing and why. So in this case, we applied the strategy of predicting text content and making students aware of the purpose for reading. Then we asked them if they could predict what happened next in the story in groups and asked them in groups to write down a possible continuation of the story. Well, actually, we applied the strategy of understanding the writer's purpose and intention and clarifying and comprehending the text content. Finally, in the post-reading stage, well, we gave students extra material, and in fact, the road not taken, the poem by Robert Frost, and this picture. And our activities actually involve students in comparing this material, this new text with the story they had read. The activities ask students to create a timeline of the stages one goes through until one makes a final choice. Then another activity to write a short blog entry and commenting on the following on a quote like life is about choices, some we regret, some we are proud of, some will haunt us forever, and the message is we are what we actually chose to be by Graham Brown. So in this case, we applied transferring the reading content to other types of written or spoken word and extending the reading experience. Well, in the last unit, the fifth one, for the pre-reading stage, we asked students to tell us what they think when they hear the word addiction and make a mind map with ideas about which substances or behaviors could be addictive. So in this case, we considered visual illustrations, drawings, diagrams, or maps. And then we asked them, we had them watching the official trailer for the film Benny's Back. That was not included in the book. It was an additional material. And think about the following points of discussion and take notes. So we asked them what has probably happened to Ben, what kind of problem they think he was facing, what they thought about the way his family reacted, how they would characterize Ben's mother and justify their answers, and why they thought Christmas time is chosen for the action of the film. So in this case, we try to activate students' background knowledge of the text so students can connect that knowledge with what they will read in the text. In the while reading stage, they had to read the adapted newspaper extract about adolescent alcohol consumption and try to specify the writer's purpose, and then read the text and match the following titles to each paragraph, and then to choose to do a multiple choice activity to choose the best answer for some questions, which had to do with the addressee of the text. The main ideas actually, more or less. So in that case, we applied the strategies of understanding the writer's purpose and intention, of recognizing the text structure and text organization, and of reading for specific pieces of information, and of clarifying and comprehending the text content. Finally, in the post-reading stage, we had students working on additional material. So we used Graham McIntosh's interview on drugs. While he had published a photo diary of himself, who was a heroin addict. So we asked the students to read his interview and write a summary of his story, and then we discussed the summaries in class. So in that case, we applied the strategy of summarizing the text content and of transferring the reading content to other types of written or spoken word. So, well, we actually we collected our findings, we analyzed them, we drew some conclusions of our research. So, as for our conclusions, we saw that the teaching of strategies can have a positive impact on their use by learners. The learning readiness, as recorded in the pre-questionnaire, seems to play a significant role in the students' response to applying the strategies, as recorded in the post-questionnaire. Girls seem keener on using reading strategies on their own, which is congruent with other similar studies. Boys need more guidance and appear to develop their use of strategies when they are taught how to do it. Well, the drop in the students' percentages using reading strategies in units 3 and 4, because there was a drop, but the rise in the last unit may be associated with the content and the topic of the text, probably out of the students' interests or due to the special conditions formed at the time. Well, we had distant learning because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Although it is important that students start using reading strategies when they are taught how to do it, it is of even higher importance that 9 out of 10 students on average from all 3 schools have started using the strategy of extending the reading experience by the end of the intervention. For example, transferring the strategies to new contexts, and therefore they seemed to have started becoming more autonomous. Well, reflecting on the intervention, on the findings and the process, it can also be argued that in order that students can develop to autonomous readers, there is a need for systematic teaching of reading strategies with appropriate activities for every reading stage, systematic application for the reading strategies in as many different types of multimodal text as possible, discussion about the strategies, reflection on the use and assessment of the strategies used, and systematic use of a specific teaching framework. Thank you for your attention.